All right, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of For the City. We're both a bit disappointed, so there's no introduction needed. You know who we are already. It can't get any worse than it's gotten. Both our teams have been officially eliminated from playoff contention. The season of dreams for the Browns has come to a end. Uh, Monday Night Football was not the way they wanted it to go. They lost to the Steelers again. Big Ben got to say his final hurrah and get a victory against the Browns, going out a winner. So, what were your thoughts on the game?
Oh man, I was furious. The factory of sadness is back, man. That's all I can say. That's what it is. Like you said, we went from a season of dreams to a factory of sadness, man. You know what really frustrates me is we came into this thinking that worst we would split with every team in the division. I mean, it might happen with Baltimore. It did happen with it happened with Baltimore, it might happen with Cincinnati, but to let Pittsburgh, probably the worst team in our division, beat us twice in both games, we could have easily have won those games if things were just done differently, a little differently. This game was pathetic, man. I mean, to watch it on Monday Night Football, to have all the other color commentators like the Manning brothers and everything like that. It was also refreshing for me because like I said, I got to deal with the Baker haters. I got to deal with all the noise and stuff like that, and acting like that's the real reason that we've been losing. But then when you hear like Hall of Famers, what I'm saying, quarterbacks, genuine quarterbacks that played on Super Bowl winning teams, of course there's going to be critiques on his game about play calling, things like that. But they're like what we talked about, Stefanski. I mean, it's like, dude, you have Nick Chubb, and Peyton Manning is like asking, is he hurt? Is something like, where's Nick Chubb at? Like, why is he on the sideline? Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the end of the season. If he's hurt, he shouldn't be playing. And why are you like limiting his touches? You're going against one of the worst run defenses in the league. The guy's averaging again 7 yards a clip running the ball, and you wanna throw the ball 37 times. Like what is the logic, man? So it was just that was the more frustrating thing about it. Yeah, and watching Baker just get destroyed. I mean, the game plan was terrible, man. You come out in spread formations of 5 wide receivers. You got a true defensive player of the year, not Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, a real defensive end that causes havoc on teams, going 4 sacks in one game, going against a rookie tackle. Well, you know what I'm saying? They got a rookie tackle playing out of position, and he's just getting beat every single play. And it was sad, man. I mean, the whole nation, the whole country saw it. All the people were saying the same thing. Like, what is Stefanski thinking? Like, what was it? Was he genuinely trying to get Baker hurt again? Like, that's the way it felt. So it was pathetic, man. I mean, I the only bright spot, I guess, was the defense. And like again, Myles Garrett, no show, no sacks, no pressures, didn't do anything. We got a pick, you know what I'm saying? Our secondary is okay, but we're still missing a lot of pieces. Johnson didn't play. So, our defense is pretty much the only thing we can hang our hat on from that game, but everything else was pathetic, man. It was pretty sad performance.
So, the heart was taken out of this team even before this game. The minute Cincinnati won and came back and and beat the
Yeah.
Chiefs, which I didn't think was going to happen because the
Mm.
Chiefs pretty much were up in that game.
Yeah.
And once they lost that game, it was a wrap. And I think it deflated the Browns to come into this game and put any kind of hustle because where's the win? Even if they won, they're not going anywhere. So I think the hurrah and the luster left the building the minute they found out Cincinnati won and locked up the division.
Yeah.
So there was really no reason for Baker to be out there other than Stefanski trying to embarrass the kid. I think that's what it comes down to. They need to get rid of Stefanski. It's plain. He refuses to put a game plan around Baker that's going to make him successful. And I've said it all season long. He does not like Baker. Stefanski is not fit for Cleveland. He's not fit for the city. He wants to. Baker's a grinder. He's shown he can go out there and he'll try to win for you, even hurt. But my thing is, the minute Cincinnati won that game, Baker shouldn't have played. Baker should have been shut down for the rest of the year so he can start rehabbing that shoulder or have surgery, off-season surgery to do it. But I guess they have nobody else to play, or Baker is forcing his way, to show the city that he
Right.
cares. I think it's more Baker saying, listen, I started the season. I'm going to finish the season whether I'm hurt or not. But the problem with Baker is Baker's a little bit too cocky sometimes, and he doesn't realize he needs a throwing coach. The greatest quarterback ever, Tom Brady himself, the GOAT. And I hate Tom Brady because I'm a Giants fan, obviously.
Yeah.
The greatest quarterback ever has a QB throwing coach. Okay. This is Tom Brady.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
So
Yeah.
you telling me
A lot of teams got him.
Baker Mayfield thinks he doesn't need a throwing coach? Like he refuses to get somebody to help him with his mechanics and his throwing because he thinks he knows better. Okay.
Right. And I mean, part of it is the injury. A lot of people, like a lot of, I know a couple of the analysts last night on the Monday night game were talking about that, how, he's not able to put his body into the throw. He's a smaller guy as it is. So his whole motion is a lot of crank, from the waist up. So the right shoulder or the left shoulder kind of hinders him from doing that. I mean, that has nothing to do with footwork. Like you said, he's throwing off his back foot a lot. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have anything to do with missing bad reads. Like I said, people have pointed out like bad reads where he's missed receivers that were open and things like that. But it is at this point in the season where he is shook. Like my brother, he said, his confidence isn't even there. He's seeing ghosts and things like that, which I agree with. I think at this point, I don't blame him. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be too if I'm getting blown up every 5 seconds, put into the ground. Every part of my body's injured. He's probably nursing that stuff and he doesn't want to get hurt. And he's, what I'm saying, he's not seeing the field like he should be. But it all boils down to he shouldn't have been out there. Stefanski should have benched him, put him on the IR week 2 when they knew what his status was. They knew his arm was completely torn, his labrum was completely torn, and it was stupid by him. And then, like I said, the play calling and stuff. I just saw a report from Mary Kay Cabot, one of our beat reporters in Cleveland, about Baker saying, now this may or may not be true. This just came on my phone about an hour ago, requesting a trade if they don't change up the play calling. It was like, I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, are you serious? Like now he's talking like he's trying to come on the offensive. He's like, my character, my game has been, talked about. So now he's like, well, it ain't me, it's y'all. And he's
but it
like,
ain't
I
him
want to
though.
be out.
It ain't him. You're not putting him in a situation that's conducive to his talents. Like I said, him, and old boy from Arizona came
Kyler
from the
Murray.
same. Kyler Murray came from the same system in Oklahoma. They put a system around Kyler Murray for him to be successful. You are not doing that for Baker. You are not putting him in that situation to take and use his talents that he's supposed to. So Baker's going to get run by everybody. Everybody's talking about Baker. Everybody's saying Baker's trash. Nobody's realizing what he did last year. Nobody's realizing what he did last year. They're going based off a season where he's been hurt since game 2 and hasn't been the same person. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Yeah. To me, it's nonsense. It's nonsensical. Listen, Stefanski has to go. He doesn't like Baker. He never liked Baker. He came in with Baker as a QB. He didn't have his own QB. Yeah. Stefanski is very conservative. You know what I mean? Very conservative with his stuff. He's not a high-powered offensive type guy. And then you having Baker throw the ball knowing he has a bum arm 35 damn times a game. Are you kidding me? They went away from the run game yesterday. Why?
Right. And it's not even like, I mean, there's no passion. You know what I'm saying? Like a coach that, like I see him on the sidelines with his big clipboard and he's sitting there and he's looking through his plays and everything. Meanwhile, your team leads the league in penalties. You got an undisciplined team. You don't show any fire ever. When a bad play is called by a ref or whatever, he just shakes his head and puts it down back into his play card. Like, I'm going to go read my plays now. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you're a head coach on a football team. Now, mind you, like Mike Tomlin, who I can't stand. Like, I loathe Mike Tomlin. This dude's up there like this, no play card, walking around the sideline. He coaches like an old school coach. You know what I'm saying? And players buy into that. I can't see a team or a locker room buying into Stefanski. Like, I just don't, even when he tries to seem excited and stuff, I don't feel it. You know, we've had coaches in the past like Mike Pettin and, old boy from New England. I can't think of Mangini and stuff. Those dudes were fiery. You know what I'm saying? I think, and people played hard. Mangini had beat the New England Patriots, with Colt McCoy. Mike Pettin had a couple good wins because I think the locker room buys into those kind of coaches. These analytical coaches, unless you're a genius, unless you out there like scheming up stuff like Andy Reid and doing that kind of stuff, I don't think the team is bought into him. I really don't think the locker room feels his style, like, because nobody here does. Like, every time he talks, I'm just like, here we go again. This dude just, we'll look at it, we'll look into it, we're on to the next game. Like, dude, get some fire, man. Be a head coach, man. It's pathetic, man.
So we go from a coach who is not fiery, Mr. Sit Back, to another coach who talks too damn much and needs to shut his mouth. So we shift from the Cleveland
Right.
Browns to the New York Giants and Joe Judge, who is just digging himself a deeper hole every time he seems to open his damn mouth now.
Oh
The
my
Giants
God.
get blown out, get obliterated by Chicago 29-3. Giants didn't even put up a fight, and I knew they weren't going to be able to. Still hasn't scored a touchdown since week 7. Absolutely dreadful. Giants, if they lose next week to Washington, Joe Judge will be the first Giants coach in history to have a 13 game losing season, 13 losses in the season. First coach to ever do that in a franchise. That's not a stat you want in New York City. Who will run your ass out of town because of that. Okay. Another thing, why does he keep talking? Like, why do you keep talking about culture? You keep talking about culture in the locker room, that you're not the same as Washington. You're not the same as Philly. You're not the same as a lot of these teams. Your team is not winning. I don't give a damn about culture. Your culture could be the greatest thing in the world, but if you're not producing W's, the culture don't mean anything. Talking about players are begging him to come back. Number one, you're tampering by doing that. Okay. And number two, you're gonna get yourself kicked out of New York City. Period. Okay. Your team is terrible. He did nothing to try to save the season. He did nothing to try to adjust. If your squad, your offense can't score a touchdown offensive touchdown since week 7, your receivers have not scored an offensive touchdown, that's a you problem. That's a coaching problem. That is your head coach's problem. Okay. Yeah. It's very problematic. And there's no highlights of the game. The Giants were absolutely dreadful in that game. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk. There's no bright spots to talk about in that game. They scored 3 offensive points off a field goal.
Well, I got one. I know Saquon ran for 102 yards in garbage time. All those yards came in garbage time. I looked at the stat and I'm like, oh, he had 102. And I'm looking at when he got that 102. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, they played that prevent defense.
Yeah, they play soft defense. They let him go through, man. They let him go through. Maybe it might be a confidence booster for Saquon. Maybe he needed that to boost himself up for next year. But come on, man. It was garbage. It was garbage time, bro. There's nothing to be proud of in that game.
I looked at 24 yards passing. That's 24 yards. And that's when you don't even break 50 yards, that's terrible. That Glennon had 2 turnovers, put in 3 turnovers in consecutive series. He had the fumble at the first play of the game. You knew that's going to be a bad sign. Then he threw a pick the next series and threw another pick. I mean, obviously I don't even know what Glennon's doing out there. I mean, like, I don't know who that other guy, he said Brom or From or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he needs to be playing because Glennon is definitely not the one.
Well, Glennon's not playing next week. He hurt his wrist. So he's out. So Fromm is going to is going to start for that game against Washington.
Yeah. Injury.
He got the injury. He got the injury. It's just, to me, it might be time for Tish to clean out the whole squad and get rid of everybody and just start over again. I don't see any bright spots right now for the rest of the season. Like I said, see what your second unit can do next week. Sit out your starters. There's no reason for them to be in there for them to get hurt. It's a meaningless game, period.
Well, like you said, man, you want to know the key to seeing whether a coach is on the hot seat or not is when they give that obligatory crazy press conference at the end of the season. Like I listened to that conference, man, because I saw the article about it. I had to go back and watch it, and I'm just like cracking up. Like, that's a head coach that knows he's about to get fired.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that's a head coach that knows when you scratch out like we can win and our team wants to play and my team ain't quitting, and like, you know what, that dude knows he's out the door.
Yeah, he out the door. Yeah,
I mean that was crazy, and it happens all the time, man. Every time you see a coach kind of go off, and like you said, man, like, what are you talking about, dude? Like your team is not showing fight. Like, they play good, like you said, for the first half, and maybe the defense wants to have a little respect, but I mean, when you ain't scored a touchdown since week 7, I mean, like, dog, what how can you run anything out there? Like, I'd be going for it on 4th down every play. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, you got to lose. You don't have anything to lose. Do something.
Bring a little bit of energy to your team. You got to do something. So,
like I said,
agree, man. I agree.
Bleed blue. The same way you bleed orange, you know what I'm saying? I bleed blue, man. I love my team, and I'm going to root for them whether they're down or bad, but I'm also realistic. Yeah. So let's shift gears to next week. I'll start with the Giants. They play Washington to end the season. this, this game is going to be a low scoring game for the Giants again. They're probably going to score 9 points. All probably come from field goals. Maybe Saquon can get some more junk yards towards the end of the game just to give himself some more confidence in the game. I don't foresee them winning this game for any reason. I think the Giants are going to get blown out again. Joe Judge is going to be the first coach in Giants history to have a 13 loss season, and he's going to get canned. He's going to get canned. So is the GM. Gettleman's going to get canned. Daniel Jones might not even come back next year. I think they might clean house completely and blow it all up and restart over again. It's New York. You're going to have people that's going to want to come there anyway. It's an attractive place to play. So I don't foresee them having too many issues trying to find a coach or players that want to come to that spotlight. But next week, to me, it's probably going to be 9 to 17 or 18. I don't think Washington's going to put up a lot of points. They might, though, because the Giants might just roll over and say the hell with it and call it a day. But the reason I say they might only put up like 18 points is because if you get the second tier squad come in, those backup players, they're playing for a position, they're playing for a job. So they're going to play like their careers depend on it. And most of the time it does. So they're going to show something. So that's why I said it's not going to be a high power game. I think, like I said, about 9 to 18 or 19, something around there. And the Giants are going to end the season on a whimper.
Yeah. You kind of touched on what I was going to talk about too with the second string, but long story short, L. It's going to be a L. Definitely going to be a loss. I don't think Washington has anything to play for either. It's definitely going to be the worst game of the week. I mean, I looked at all the games this week and it's battle of the bums. Like you said, second stringers are going to be in there fighting for position. So usually those games are entertaining, you know what I'm saying? They'll be playing hard, but they're second tier for a reason. So they don't usually end up scoring a lot. It's like a preseason game. You'll see a lot of action, a lot of different things, maybe some exciting plays, like, a 40-yard, 50-yard pass or something. But I think it'll be low scoring as well. I see it in the teens. Giants didn't get their 10 last week. So, maybe they'll get their 10 spot this week somehow off of some fluke turnover or something like that. But I think Washington's going to beat them like 18-19 to 19-10, 18-10, something like that. But yeah, nothing to really, no keys to the game, no nothing.
Nah,
I
it's
mean,
just
Saquon don't get hurt. I wouldn't even play Saquon.
I wouldn't even play Saquon either, but I think they might just for him to get some more confidence going into next season. This is a contract year for him anyway. So they need to figure it out. They need to figure it out what they're going to do with the cat. Let's switch over gears. Browns, Cincinnati, last game of the season, meaningless game for either team. I don't think they might start their quarterback for the first quarter, second quarter, and then Cincinnati's going to take him out so he doesn't get hurt and get him ready for the playoffs. Browns shouldn't even play Baker, which I think they will anyway.
Oh no, he's hurt. He's done.
He's done for the season finally.
Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah.
All right. Well, then that's even all right. That's even better for them to get some off the field. Get your backup in there, see what he can do. Which their backup is an old man as well. There's not much else to do with this game. I really don't see any keys to this victory to this game because it's going to be I think it's just going to be a sloppy garbage game because it doesn't mean anything for Cincinnati. They can't change their position on where they are in the playoffs right now. So they're slotted in where they are right now. There's no first round bye. They have to play either way it goes.
Yeah, no, I saw some of the reports. I know Joe Mixon, he ain't playing. He's on the COVID list. I think they're going to rest Burrow. I don't see them risking hurting any of their receivers and stuff. Browns again. I think, like you said, I think their soul been ripped out of them. I think it's over. I don't think too many of those players are going to be out there really. I don't think they're going to play Hunt. I know Hunt probably wants to, but they're not going to play him. And Chubb, I mean, Chubb's a professional. You know what I'm saying? He might come out there, so we might get the win. You know what I'm saying? That was my logic. Bengals ain't got nothing to play for. We at home. Chubb might come out, and Chubb's going to do his thing. Now, whether they let Chubb run the ball or not, which would be hilarious. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, here goes Stefanski running the ball 25, 30 times when it don't matter at the end of the season. So that's kind of like my prediction. I'd say Browns win, a clunker, 17-14, something like that. But for the most part, it's just going to be, going through the motions and everything, which is funny because like I had looked at this before when we still had a chance to go and was like looking at the matchup. And again, this kind of goes back to the Baker thing. You look at the three receivers that Cincinnati got. They got Chase Young, Higgins, and Boyd. All three of them would start as our number one receiver right now on the Browns.
It's
All
crazy.
three of them.
It's
We
crazy,
wouldn't
man.
even, you wouldn't think twice. Jarvis is the only one that's kind of, but Jarvis, he doesn't have the speed or the explosiveness as any of those receivers. He's not young. He's a durable, he's good for a good catch here and there, but obviously he's not what he used to be. So yeah, it's nice to have, a Chase Young that could put up 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs and bring them back single-handedly. You know what I'm saying? Like one
Yeah.
pass, take it 70 yards. So, just that dynamic. Like, and I get why Baker's upset. I mean, I look over at Cincinnati and see the weapons they got, and then look at our, receiver, cupboard, and we're like, really, this is who we working with. And we like to do it as Browns fans. We like to pump up our players. Like in the preseason, everybody's like, Donovan Peoples is looking like a beast in practice, and Higgins is most consistent, da da da. But when it comes down to it in real games, it's just like, they're not the receivers that are in other teams, other calibers.
But do you know why Joe Burrows has success with his receiving core? Because he's the one, he had input in who to draft. They gave him an input. He wanted his receiver from LSU.
Yeah.
And he got him. And they got him for him. And now he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. No,
he's probably
Chase. Yeah, Chase.
Yeah, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like I said,
it's common sense. Like you said, it's simple. It's like you had success with a player, and it's just like the Kyler Murray Arizona thing. You bring the head coach in, and he knows it. Puts him in. It's just it's so simple. It's stupid. You know what I'm saying?
But Cleveland's going to Cleveland. You know how this goes already.
Right.
Cleveland's going to Cleveland, man. So I see the game more like 17-14. I think Cincinnati's going to win it. Just it's going to be a sloppy game. Nobody's going to care. You like I said, you have the second strings coming in to have something to prove. So they'll play hard for a while, but then it's just gonna, a lot of prevent soft defense that's gonna be played in that game. Nobody wants to get hurt the final game of the season because some of these guys are on their contract years. Who the hell wants to get hurt last? Like we said, these teams are zoning out. You know what I mean? They're already, some guys are getting prepped for the playoffs, meaningless games. They're not going to get themselves hurt. I know they're professionals, but at the same time, like we talked about last episode, where, they'll zone out and get ready to go somewhere else, thinking about where they're going to travel for vacation if they can because of COVID, obviously. So before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about draft, where we're going to be slotted right now. So you have the statistics on that, on where the Browns and where the Giants are going to be slotted right now. So where are they right now?
From what I've saw from the different mock drafts, I see the Giants are picking around 5th or 8th. So between 3 and 6 is where they're going to fall at, depending on how the last few games play out. Right now, the Browns will be at 13th if it, nothing changes. But I mean, I guess we're going to be in the mid-teens. You guys are going to be have 2 picks in the top 10. Obviously, you knew that. Depending on where that first pick's going to fall, it really just depends on these next couple games. I don't see Jacksonville pulling it out against the Titans. Houston's actually been playing better, but I don't think they're going to win. So it's probably going to stay about the same. So yeah, man, it's interesting, man. You guys got a lot of picks early on and have the potential to make big moves. Now, we talked earlier, like I don't understand it myself. The mock drafts got you guys going defense, both picks. I mean, I believe in having a strong defense, but I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? You've been screaming it all year long. I agree with you. Offense. I mean, God, man, you haven't scored a touchdown. You don't think the offense should be addressed? You know what I'm saying?
Fix the offensive line. Fix the offensive line. Fix the offensive line. It can't get any clearer than that, man.
Yeah.
Do you know why St. Louis won their title with Kurt Warner and why they went back to back Super Bowls? Because they got Orlando Pace. Okay, yeah. They got an offensive player to protect their quarterback. Like, you need to protect Daniel Jones. The kid is getting killed back there. Yeah. You're hurting this kid's career. They did the same thing with David Carr in Houston. They ruined that guy's career. You know what I mean? He has so much potential, but you couldn't protect the guy, and the guy's getting obliterated. Even Deshaun Watson, even though he's got his thing right now going on and not playing right now because of the allegations, we'll say, because that's what they are, allegations.
Right.
He was getting killed back there too, man. You know what I mean? You have to protect if you cannot protect your quarterback, you are going to ruin careers. This is why people used to sit their quarterbacks for a year or two before you play. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He sat for 4 years behind Favre before he even touched the field.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even Brett Favre wasn't a starting QB. You You know what I mean? When he first came into the
A
league.
lot of the greats. Steve Young sat
Tom,
behind
right.
Montana, you know.
Tom Brady, Kurt Warner. You understand where I'm coming from?
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of there's a lot of the, even Eli Manning sat out half the year, before they got him in there. At least he sat out for half the year before they started him, because Kurt Warner was in there. So trust me, man, they're ruining these kids' careers now because they're throwing them out there. People, it's a microwave generation now, bro. Everybody wants things now, and they don't want to build up anymore. You know
it's
what I mean?
Oh, look at my shiny toy, man. Look at my number 1 overall pick. And then they break it like a child. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I agree 100%, man. I think, I mean, the statistics show, the history shows, you know, because first of all, most teams that are drafting that high, they played, there's a reason they were the number 1 pick. They were a sorry team. They had a losing season. So, like, look at Jacksonville. That's a perfect example. This dude, Trevor Lawrence, coming out like the next coming of Jesus. Here comes this great quarterback. Like, we just fell into our pocket. You got a first-year head coach, a team that ain't won nothing against it with an offensive line that is trash, and you got this dude murdered. This dude is getting killed. And you wonder why. You think his confidence isn't shook? You think he's gonna, like, next year, you think they're gonna come out there and like he's gonna feel good about the season? No, he's gonna be terrified. And like you said, man, it's I keep going back to this. It's simple stuff, man. Keep it simple. The teams that are consistently in the upper echelon, the Patriots, the Steelers, all these teams that draft well, they're thinking about 4 or 5 years down the road. Even in their back secondary, third, you know, the later picks and stuff, they know, like, we want to build these guys up into our system. And it just comes down to the consistency, man. I think the Browns' biggest issue for the last 20, it's consistency, man.
And I want to address something too. Everybody's like, well, Baker had Odell. Odell didn't show up. Odell never wanted to be in Cleveland.
Right.
The only reason he was here is only reason he tolerated being here because his best friends on the team in Landry. Yeah. Odell didn't want to be here. You think Odell went out and put 100% on that field every time he got out there? No, he didn't. He's showing up in LA because he has a chance to make a Super Bowl run. But even when he got to LA, he wasn't showing out. He wasn't showing out when he first got there. You know what I mean? Yeah. He knew he wasn't giving 100% when he first got to, and then the light clicked on him. He said, if I don't get my act together, you know, I'm not going to have a job next year.
Oh, yeah. He admitted it. He said it himself. He said he didn't. There was reports out after he left about how he didn't want to be here. I mean, the dude is Mr. Go to Paris. I'm, you know, in Miami, like Cleveland. Cleveland ain't a spot for that kind of dude. He coming from New York, the city of lights and all that jazz, and coming to Cleveland. Like you said, he did it as a thing with his boy. He wanted to team up with his boy for a little bit, get his contract, get his money, and that was it. And I'm so glad you brought that out because, you know, it's funny. Like, we talk about that situation, and he went to the Rams. Do you want to know who's been statistically the worst quarterback since like week 9? Matt Stafford. You want to see a quarterback whose statistics have dropped, who's thrown more interceptions than any other quarterback since week 9?1 Stafford. Now, what's the coincidence? Yes, you know, Odell's gotten his few touchdowns, you know, all these numbers, but look at the games. He's one catch, 3 yards, a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Cooper Kupp is the star on that team. And now all he has to do is sit back and, hey, let me get my, you know, obligatory 1 catch a game for a touchdown. And now he's padding his stats and look at me again. But it's all about the brand. You're right. Nobody does. That's the hardest thing too about Cleveland. Nobody wants to play here. This isn't a destination that people are like, let's go to Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? It's not. And so you got to draft players from, you know, Ohio State, from Michigan, up in the north. You know what I'm saying? Like, in our kind of climate, our kind of weather, you know, you need those TJ Watt type players and stuff like that, hard-nosed players. You know, we can't be drafting cats from USC and Miami and Florida and stuff like that. It just don't work for that.
But that's why Pittsburgh and Baltimore has been so successful, because they get grinded out football players. They get players that want to win, that want to be there. I don't care what anybody says. Listen, I'm a diehard Giants fan. Cleveland is one of the most historic franchises in the league, point blank, period. The history speaks it all. Before they moved out to Baltimore, they were still winning. You know what I mean? They didn't get to a Super Bowl, but they're still winning. Okay. You guys got saddled with an expansion team because the original team moved to Baltimore. So you have to build again from the ground up. Even on the couch, you guys made the playoffs. Tim Couch, you know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, listen, get Baker a receiver. Get him a receiver that wants to
Yeah.
be here, that Baker can work with on the offseason to create some chemistry. But we don't need, and I say this in New York too, we don't need divas in New York either. You know what I mean? Don't give me a diva. Give somebody, give Jones somebody that's going to be able to, for him to create some chemistry with in the offseason if he's still going to be here. Same thing with Baker. You have to get him some offensive weapons. And it didn't help that even in that game with that Baker was playing, people were dropping the ball. His receivers were dropping passes. Yeah. So everything can't land on his shoulders. Some of it can, because Baker's made some atrocious throws. Sure. Okay. But at the same token, you can't throw the ball 35 times and think there's not going to be any mistakes made.
Well, like you said, like I was right there on this. Like I wrote down a name here. Chris Olave, the receiver from Ohio State. He's scheduled to get picked pretty high. He's an Ohio State receiver, big guy. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of things I've been thinking about too. Michael Thomas, man, down there with the Saints, ex-Ohio State guy, big receiver. Look what he did with Drew Brees. Like, people knock Baker about his height and everything like that, and I agree, it is a drawback. And yes, maybe he does have a hard time seeing shorter receivers. So me as a GM, as a coach, go, number one pick, it's got talent. Maybe he has a hard time seeing short receivers. Let me draft a 6'4" receiver. I mean, him and Peoples have been connected, but give me Michael Thomas, man. Trade a pick, do whatever you got to do with the Saints and try to get, because Michael Thomas don't want to be with the Saints no more. So give me Michael Thomas any day, and I'll be happy.
But Drew Brees wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback when he first came in the league. The dude almost got out of the league, man. So, so people are turning on Baker, thinking that he's okay, he's a servable. Baker showed what he can do. When you put the right pieces around him, he can shine. It's the same thing with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has shown flashes of greatness when he has that ability to throw the ball, when he's safe and he's not running for his life.
Yeah.
They ended Eli's career early because the man was getting killed behind the line. They never fixed it. I think Eli could have played another 2 or 3 years like Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers right now, and even Tom Brady. You know what I mean? You didn't give the guy enough around him to do that. So I think draft-wise, I think we need to smarten up a little bit. I think both teams need to smarten up, and we need to put players. The Giants need to fix their offensive line, and I think the Browns need to get offensive weapons for Baker that's going to fit Baker's style of play, and that's what it comes down to. Get rid of Stefanski. You know what I'm saying? Joe Judge, I like Joe Judge. We need to, if he loses, you need to toss him out the way. Period. You can't lose 13 games in New York City. You just can't do it. But I mean, there's not much else to say today.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of anger.
Man.
It's a lot of anger.
I know, right.
A lot of anger,
man. Talk about it, man. The more I can go days talking about this, man. It's just, you get heated about it, man. Yeah. But like you said, it's the end of the road. Got to just kind of think about the future now, man. Like I said, we'll see what happens. I know we're looking forward to doing more draft talk, so I know we're gonna be touching on that a little bit coming up. So
so next week will be the final game of the season that we review, and then after that we'll probably be coming back maybe every couple of weeks, just talking about draft statuses, free agents, things of that nature. And then we'll go from there. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I am Francisco,
and I'm Chef Boy,
and we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.